Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Empower You Summit, where you're going to hear from some of the top leading experts in the world how to reclaim your life, your identity, and your inspiration. I'm your host and transformation expert, Lacey Sherwood. I am so honored and excited to interview today Gabriel Gonçalves, and I'm going to introduce you to him and let you hear what he's up to in the world and what he's got going on. He's doing some incredible things, and I'm really honored to speak with him today. Venezuelan-born Gabriel Gonçalves is a coach, author, and founder of Heart and Mind Consulting, where he helps people create a life they love. This includes having deeper, more loving relationships, experiencing greater health and well-being, while building a thriving, heart-centered business that allows you to fully express yourself and have ample income to do what you love. Gabriel is a leading expert in heart intelligence coaching, a path to personal development that is heart-centered, integral, results-oriented, and deeply transformational. His coaching style combines his experience and passion for personal development, spirituality, and the performance arts. He currently lives in Cape Town, South Africa, where he enjoys spending quality time with close friends, riding horses, hiking, walking along Long Beach, or working on other creative projects that help people connect with their hearts. Gabriel, welcome to the call today.
Thank you very much, Lacey, for the invitation to be part of your summit. And as I was listening to the introduction, I was thinking that I really should write at the end of my bio that I also enjoy eating pizza and sushi.
Well, those are both wonderful things. So I also really enjoy sushi.
Good. Lovely. Well, yes, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of the summit.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm excited to talk to you today. I know that you're going to have lots of wonderful information and insights for us. So you're doing some really incredible things in the world. And I just have to say that how cool to live in South Africa. Well, we'll get into your story and tell us a little bit about that, but I've never been there, somewhere I've always wanted to go. So that's very, very cool. So, Gabriel, the name of the summit is the Empower You Summit. So that's kind of what we're talking about today is empowerment. So I wanted to kind of start the interview off with just hearing from you a little bit about what it means to you to feel empowered.
It's lovely. You know, the way that I look at this thing about empowerment, when I first came to South Africa, I had the opportunity to work for an NGO that focused on empowerment. And at that time, I had not started doing the work around the heart. And I remember at that time, it was just a word that, you know, one of those cliche words that we use in the field of personal development of, you know, I want to empower you, I want to empower future generations, I want to empower youth. But the truth is, I didn't really know what that meant until I started doing the work around the heart and discovered that your heart generates the largest electromagnetic field in your body. So it really is what powers your body from the very beginning of conception. You know, around the 21st, 22nd day of the embryo, this little heartbeat begins to beat and begins to generate all the electricity and the magnetism that not only begins to align and create a rhythm, you know, in the body, but it also begins to power the whole thing. You know, it's no accident, you know, that we talk about the engine as having, you know, the engine of a car as having horsepower, you know, because that horsepower engine lives in your heart from the very beginning. So empowerment, I really believe it begins at the heart of who we are and at the physical heart. And then it is through the heart where I believe you begin to access a greater source of intelligence, wisdom, whatever you want to call it. Think of it as your connection with your soul, out of which you begin to tap into a greater vision for your life. Begin to realize that you're more than just, you know, your family. You're more than just a name. You're more than all the labels that society has been wanting to put on you. And then at that moment, as you begin to move towards creating not the life that is expected of you or even the life that you plan for yourself, but the one that is waiting for you along that journey, as you begin to listen to your heart and you begin to listen to its wisdom and guidance, empowerment happens. Empowerment happens as a result of you going, on this journey, which I love to refer to this journey as the path of the heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we're going to get into this quite a bit more here as we talk the heart, and the heart being that center, and how, you know, when you're connected to that and listening to it. And so really you kind of said, you know, you're feeling empowered, or you're in a sense or being a state of being empowered when you're listening to and following your heart. Is that kind of what you were, in a nutshell? I mean, you said a whole lot more than that.
Yeah. Well, you know, here's the thing. You know, think of it as, you know, you cannot talk about empowerment without speaking at the same time about the source of that empowerment. Mm-hmm. So when I feel most empowered, you know, what we use as a way of when we speaking colloquially, like I feel empowered, which in many ways it means I feel a sense of joy and enthusiasm. I feel alive. I feel juicy. You know, what that means is that there's a lot of energy. It's like a high level of energy moving through your body. And again, in my experience, the quickest and the fastest way to access the source of that energy is by aligning with the energy of your heart. And by that, I don't mean metaphorically. I really mean by aligning with that part of you that it's interdimensional, and that you know, and where at its center really lives these emotions of joy and enthusiasm and unconditional love. That's really what I mean by really turning towards the heart as the vehicle that connects you with the source of your true power, which is, you know, you can think of it as your life power, your God power, your divine energy, your chi. I don't care what you call it, as long as you align and start connecting to it.
That's a beautiful description, and I just love that. I love everything you said about all of that. So thank you for that description of what it means to you to feel empowered. So on that note, you talked about moving to South Africa and the work that you began and focus on empowerment, and then you turned to the work that you're doing now, which is really focused and centered around the heart. So talk to us a little bit about that. Tell us a little bit about your story, kind of where you came from, where you are now, and what got you doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, well, one of the things about, you know, following this path of the heart is that when you begin to follow it, you really don't know where it's going to take you. You have no idea where it's going to take you. You know, it begins to point you in a direction, and it requires a lot of willingness to just simply surrender and say, yes, okay, I'll go. But the truth is that you never really know where you're going. And that was very much my story. If you had met me 9 years ago, eight and a half years ago exactly, you would have met a very vain television soap opera actor pursuing an acting career in LA. That was really just all I thought it was about myself, and was living a very limited experience of you know, or in a very limited version. It was experiencing a very limited version of myself. I think that's the best way I can describe it. And then I realized that I had a longing for something more, but I didn't know what that was. And then I left a corporate job that I was working for Sony Pictures at that time, and I decided to start producing, and I wrote a television pilot, and as a result of that, I was hired to come to South Africa to produce a film. So I'm in South Africa. I had never been here before. I was really enjoying a really great moment in my career. I was producing, you know, I've been working for a big studio. And then once I got here, in a week, my life was completely turned upside down. When first I was mugged, then a few days after that, I was fired from the production job. And then 2-3 days after that, my mother died in Venezuela. She had just been diagnosed the previous month with a tumor in her lung. And so here I am. I had also just turned 40, by the way, the month before. So here I am. I'm now in a country that where I don't know anybody. don't have any money, don't have any credit cards, don't have a passport. My mom just died. I can't even fly home to be with my loved ones. And in that space, I was so brokenhearted and so lost and so much pain, that there was some kind of an awakening that took place as I began to surrender and experience all these emotions. And one thing I began to get very clear was that if the universe had taken literally my identity, because that's what had happened, when you lose your ID, your passport, like everything, it's almost like you have no identity. If the universe had taken my identity away from me, I kind of started thinking, well, maybe the universe has other plans for my life. Maybe God has different plans for my life. And so I remember I went to see one of those tarot card readers, a beautiful woman by the name of Joanne. And so Joanne, she took me out to this beautiful gardens. We did like this card reading outdoors in this beautiful place called the Company Gardens. And I just poured my heart out, and I'm just like, Joanne, this is what happened to me. I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I don't have any friends here. And she basically said to me, well, Gabriel, your heart has been trying to speak to you for a very long time, and you have not been listening. And so all these things had to happen so that you finally started listening, so that your heart could crack open, so that you could start discovering a treasure that has been locked away in your heart, and you have been running away from it all these years. And I was like, to me this was like foreign language, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Treasure in my heart. And so she just said to me, well, I want you to start listening to your heart, listening as if your life depended on it, because at this moment it does. And then she just said goodbye, and everything's going to work out. Don't worry, as long as you listen to your heart, everything's going to work out. And then she left. And so I sat there feeling definitely better that I had, that I connected with someone who listened to me. And then what I noticed that when I started thinking about going back to LA, to Los Angeles, to my previous life, it's like my heart would actually shrink. I could literally feel my chest shrink and my heart would start beating slower. And then when I thought about staying here and beginning a whole new life, it's like my chest, there's like the feeling around my heart and my chest was a little lighter, felt lighter, and then also I would feel my heart would have more power in it. I'm talking about empowerment. You could feel it was like just a sense of more power. It's like that gave me that made me feel more alive. And so I started really at that time. I started wondering, maybe what John was saying about listening to my heart, maybe there's some logic to it, because my heart is responding two different ways depending on two different decisions. And so I made a decision to stay, even though I had no idea how I was going to make a living, how I was going to work things out, where I was going to get money from, and I had no idea. I made a decision I was going to stay. And that was 8.5 years ago. Since then, it has been the most amazing journey of my life as I went on to volunteer for 2 NGOs, started a ministry based on a new thought, ancient wisdom, spirituality, counsel people from all walks of life, got to meet some really fascinating people that I got to help and support. And then it was 5 years ago that I made the decision to go full-time into coaching and to open a coaching and training business called Heart and Mind Consulting, and became a heart intelligence coach, studying with the HeartMath Institute and learning all the science and technology around the heart. And again, it has been a journey of empowerment. And also, I think the biggest empowerment has been really learning to be comfortable with the unknown. And allow myself to be guided, not by my intellect, not by, not my mind alone, but by something deeper inside of me that knows what I'm capable of, that is constantly, or has been constantly, guiding all the steps throughout my life.
Wow. What an incredible story. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I have so many thoughts running through my mind as I'm listening to your story and trying to make a little note here and there to follow up on that and that, and just so many little juicy tidbits in there. So thank you for sharing that story with us. That was wonderful. I want to ask you, so you shared that from that getting to that kind of the lowest low, you know, you were mugged, you lost your job, your mother died, you had no identity really. I mean, really, like you said, your identity was kind of taken from you. To reaching out and going to that lady who talked to you about your heart. When you began to feel your heart speak to you, when you began to notice the way that it made you feel, when you had certain thoughts about, you know, LA or stay here and different things, was it easy for you to trust that initially? Like to just say, okay, I don't really know all the hows and the whys, but I can feel it in my heart, so I'm going to go with it? Or was it still very, tell me a little bit about that experience. How, I'm just thinking, so many people maybe feel their heart, but don't listen to it and act on it. They might hear it, but they don't act on it, you know. So what do you say to people? Maybe this will, what advice do you give people in following that?
Yeah, well, you know, here what I've discovered, and I think that your listener, anyone that's listening to this is what I'm about to share. It's going to empower you. We have three primary levels of intelligence. You know, science has now proven that we have the largest amounts of neural cells in our brain, and then in our gut, and then in our heart. Our heart literally has a clump of about 40,000 neural cells that neuroscientists call the heart's brain. And those neural cells, I mean, they're the same cells that are in your brain. They have the capacity to learn, they process information, they can store memory. And it's one of the reasons why you can actually do a heart transplant, because the heart is almost like a self-contained unit. So it kind of knows what to do. That's why you're able to move it. And not only that, it oftentimes, when it's transplanted, it actually, the person who's the recipient of the heart will start exhibiting some of the character traits of the person that who was a donor of that heart, who owned that heart. There's a fascinating book written about that. But anyway, we have these three intelligence levels, and you know, the one that is mostly associated with the brain is rational, it's linear, even though that, you know, we have a right and left brain, but it's primarily aligned or associated with our intellect. So it's about thinking, whereas the intelligence that is associated with the heart is the intelligence of the emotions, also associated with the right part of the brain. And it's part of that is creative, that it also connects us with the higher intuition or the connection with the totality. So whereas our left brain or the intelligence of the mind can oftentimes only see the individual pieces, when you bring in the intelligence or the emotional aspect that the heart allows you to bring in, you see the totality, you see the bigger picture. And then you have the intelligence of the gut, and that one is all about survival. You know, that's why, it's oftentimes about doing, it's about taking action, it's about moving forward. You know, and in our language, you can see how we, depending on any given time, how we are accessing these three levels of intelligence. So when you're speaking about the mind, you're saying, oh, this doesn't make sense to me, I have to think about this, I have to process this. You know, so this is all about thinking. Whereas when you speak about the heart, oftentimes you'll say, oh, this feels so right. Or I just know in my heart that this is how it is. You know, so when you access the intelligence of your heart, it's about a knowingness that transcends the rational. Oftentimes you don't know. I don't know if you've ever had an experience where you just knew something and you don't know how you know it, but you just knew it. You knew that that's exactly what you needed to do. And sometimes it doesn't even make sense, but you just know, this is what I have to do. This is the person that I need to call. This is what I need to do. And that is the higher level of intuition, intuitive awareness that you access through your heart. And then when it comes to the gut, in our language, we'll say things like, well, I didn't have the guts. You know, I couldn't make myself do it. You know, I didn't have the guts to do this. So it's all about taking action. And so, you know, the best way that I can explain these three levels of intelligence is by expressing them or using the metaphors that the Taoists, the ancient Chinese Taoists, associated to these three. They call them the upper Dantian, lower Dantian, and the middle Dantian. And the Taoists believe that the heart was the emperor, whereas the mind or the brain was the king. It was all king rules, whereas the emperor is about the nobility. And that the gut was the samurai, was like the general, is the one that goes into the battlefield. Okay? But the Taoists also believe that, that ultimately it is the emperor that sets the direction. It is the emperor who overrules everybody, who has the biggest power. Everybody, eventually the general and the king have to submit to the emperor. And so what that means to me is that if your heart is the emperor of the body, what makes it the emperor is that it allows you the gift of higher vision so that you can connect with your soul, your higher purpose, your plan for your life, God's plan for your life, if you want to call it that. Main reason why you came into this life. And then begin to make decisions that are in alignment with that. Okay? So that's exactly what happened to me. I began to literally slow down and listen to my heartbeat, because the beauty about the heartbeat is that it's always happening in the present moment. When I'm in my head, I'm focusing on the future, on what I need to be doing tomorrow, the next day, what may happen, and fears that, things that could be going wrong, and also about the past, holding on to things, so I keep rehashing events that happened in the past and what I could have done, what I should have done, all these things. So my mind oftentimes sends me either way forward into the future or in the past. But the heart brings you into the present moment, and it is that present moment. It is in this moment where the information that I need for the next step along my journey is being provided. It's not being provided to me in the future. It's just like when you're driving a car. It is when you're looking at there and you're present and you're looking at the street and you're looking at the traffic light signal. They call them robots here in South Africa. When the robot is red, that's when, you have to stop, and then when it's green. But if you're already trying to get to your destination, you're missing all the signs that are right in front of you that are guiding you. And so the connection with the heart, just listening to your own heartbeat and bringing the awareness of the breath into the heart, that alone will bring you into this present moment. So what you will notice is your heart rate begins to slow down, and you begin to actually slow down to the rhythm of life, to the natural rhythm of life, to the rhythm of the planet. And then at this moment, you begin to access this sense of knowing. And so that's what happened to me. I began to access this wisdom within myself, and it was just like, I know I'm not going back. And people were like, but what are you going to do? I was like, I don't know, but all I know, I'm not going back. But what are you going to do? How are you going to make a living? I don't know. It's like my heart is beating in this moment, and I'm only thinking about dinner tonight. Okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will deal with that when it's time to deal with that.
That was a great. Wow, that was so much information. So much good information. And I love that you said just like slow down and listen to your heartbeat. And that to me makes me think of when you hear, oftentimes for me, my body naturally just like, go take a breath. It's just like, oh, just breathe. Just slow down and breathe for a second. And that brings you to that, like, it takes your awareness there to your breath, to your, that heart rather than.
One of the things a lot of people, like if there are anyone that's listening to us, if you smoke, one of the things that you might not know is that what creates the relaxation effect when you smoke, it's not the cigarette, it's not the nicotine, it's not all the other chemicals that are highly addictive that they put into the cigarettes. But it's the fact that what do you do when you really need a cigarette? For those of you that smoke, you have been stressed. You've been working on a timeline. You're pressured. So your breathing has become shallow. Your shoulders are tight, right? There's very little oxygen going into your brain. Your thinking has become cloudy. Your heart is speeding up. You're stressed. And so what do? Then? You go outdoors normally, because that's where you go smoke. And then what's the first thing you do? You light up a cigarette and you go, and you say, oh, I feel so much better. And you attribute the fact that you feel better to the cigarette. When what's really allowing you to feel better is that you just took a deep inhalation into your heart, into your chest, brought in much more oxygen, you slowed down, and you started to align with the rhythm of life. That's what did it. It wasn't the cigarette, but you have associated that the only way to do that is through a cigarette, when it's not. That's actually giving your power away to something outside of yourself, when that is available to you 24/7, any time of the day.
Wow. I've never heard that before, but that makes so much sense to me. It makes so much, I mean, I'm not a smoker, I never have been, but that makes so much sense to me that it's, they get to where they're just, I just have to have it, I need that fixed, and it's really, they just need to slow down and breathe and get connected to their heart again. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's really amazing. I love that, and that's a very powerful. For those that are listening that do, try that. Give it a try and see. I mean, obviously, there's the addiction component that you're going to have to to address. But wow, that's awesome. So, Gabrielle, tell me some things that you do on a regular basis to stay in this empowerment, which is connected to your heart, feeling it, listening to it, acting on it. What are some things that you do regularly to stay there? Because it's easy, like you said, the day-to-day hustle and bustle of life, the stress of work, or the this or that. I mean, all these people that are listening, they have all these things going on in their life. So we all do, and it takes effort and action to stay connected here. So what are some things that you do?
I have a group of what I call my 3 M's, okay? One thing is that I'm really stressed with anyone that I work with is that you begin to put into practice what I call fundamental practices, okay? These are your daily disciplines. These are things that you do either daily or on a regular basis that allow you to maintain and to grow and to deepen that connection with life, with yourself, with the source of your power. And for me, my 3 M's are meditation, movement, and music. Meditation, movement, and music. So almost every day, I say almost because there are days that I forget, I skip it. I don't have my meditation is no longer like a structured practice. For many years, it was like every morning, between 6 and 7. But these days, it's become like 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, while I'm in the middle of an activity, while I'm out walking. It's become a much more integrated practice, where meditation is it's not something that I do, that I have to schedule, but it's more like a way in which I do things. So meditation is one, but I specifically recommend the kind of meditation where you involve the heart, where you involve using the breath to direct that breath straight into the heart, because that's exactly what empowerment through the heart is all about. It's about you use the breath to energize the heart. The main source of our energy, we receive it through the air. And I don't know if you're aware of this, Lacey, but the word spirit from the Latin means breath. Spiritus means breath. Our ancestors knew, and they left it in the language, that what gave us life was the breath. And so to have a spirit was to have life. And so use that prana, whatever name you have for the breath of life, to bring the energy into the heart and to energize it. Okay, so that's one thing. That's a practice that I have, that I do every day. The next thing I do is I move. I'm designed for movement. We're all designed for movement. And so I have a puppy. I have a 6-month puppy. Her name is Numi. She's a little Dachshund Jack Russell mix. And so I'm out every day, either at the beach. I live very close to the beach, or a beautiful green belt, and I run or I go hiking, or I just walk very briskly. I love taking my shoes off and really feeling the connection with the earth. That's also something really, really important, I believe, that, in our cities, we wear this very thick rubber sole shoes, and so we're disconnected from the energy of the planet, really. And not only that, we accumulate a lot of static electromagnetic energy in the forms of thoughts and even emotions that are not ours. And so we have nowhere to ground all that excess emotions. And so by walking regularly in nature, taking your shoes off and really feeling the ground, what you're doing is you're allowing that excess energy to basically be grounded, just like an electrical circuit. And then as you do that, you also become receptive to the energy of the planet. The planet has its own heartbeat. Scientists at NASA call it Schumann's resonance. And so one of the reasons, again, I was speaking earlier about being in the head when you're so far in the future, what happens is you disconnect from the natural rhythm of the planet. And so one of the quickest way to come back to that rhythm is literally taking your shoes off, feeling the earth, and then beginning to align yourself with the rhythm of the planet. That's why working in the garden, doing any kind of activity where you are outdoors, allows you to reconnect with the energy of nature and literally find empowerment through the connection with nature, and a great source of of wisdom as well. And then the third one is music. I play the guitar. I write some songs. And so one of the quickest ways, I believe, into my heart is through music. Music touches the soul. There's an expression of the deeper emotions of the heart. And so for me, those 3 M's, I meditate, move, and I play music, or sometimes I listen to music, and it can be extremely cathartic. So any practices that you can put into place that allow you to come in connection, with something greater than yourself, be it nature, being through the breath, or being through music that can also, open doors to emotions that you never even thought you had, I believe, will empower you.
Oh, I love that. I love that you call it the 3 M's. That's a great way to remind, just a little reminder and quick reference for reminding people, what was it again? 3 M's. Okay, so, that's just a great little tool there. But I like that you said that your meditation used to be like a scheduled, you'd get up, you'd have a certain meditation, and now it's more of like just an integrated into your life, just kind of part of you and part of your daily life and routine. And I find that's true for me now as well. However, when you're new to meditation, do you suggest people kind of do an actual, go through a meditation until their body, spirit, heart, starts to understand what this is, and then they can get into it a lot quicker and have those 5-minute moments or those 10-minute moments, where they can do that. But for me anyway, I don't know if you found this to be true, but for me it took practicing that a little bit and kind of integrating that into my life before it could become just natural and quick.
Yeah. I mean, I think the essence of a lot of practice is you practice so that you don't have to practice. It's kind of a thing. So that practice, that's kind of like the paradox. You practice so you don't have to practice. But I think we cannot talk about meditation, without really speaking about 2 main types of meditations that exist. I believe that in essence, you look at different kinds of meditations, Vipassana meditation, and more heart-centered mindfulness practices. And they're primarily 2 type of practices. There's one that I would describe them as upward practices, okay? Literally, you sit down, you start breathing, you focus on the breath, maybe you focus on your pineal gland, or, that center point between your eyebrows. But then what you do is you leave your present awareness and you leave your body and you go somewhere. You go somewhere in in your mind and you leave. Okay, you're no longer here. It's like you're not dealing with life problems and circumstances, or you transcend that. And then there is a different kind of meditation that I call it a downward practice. And the downward practice is like I'm in my body, but I bring this energy from source, from the divine, from God, and I bring it down into my body. I bring it down into my physical presence. So I energize my body. And so that for me is the kind of practice that works the most and that truly empowers me. Because what it does is it brings more energy, more love, more joy into my current reality, so that I can then take that and then bring that into my creative projects, into my coaching, into my creativity, into my singing. And so, and not only that, it translates also into greater emotional well-being. It strengthens my immune system. I'm able to overcome emotional upsets and heartbreak a lot quicker, because I'm bringing this energy down and I'm anchoring it down in my relationships, in my project, into my business, and it's a different kind of practice. So for me, that practice begins, I would even recommend to people these days, don't even use the word meditation anymore. Don't even use the word, because we've associated with this meditation to something that's like really uncomfortable. You have to sit, your heart, your back is going to hurt, it's going to be uncomfortable. You have to breathe a certain way. And I would say, just think of it as a practice that is just about paying attention and bringing energy into your body. And it doesn't matter whether if you're driving, it doesn't matter whether if you're making love, it doesn't matter if you're doing the dishes. But the whole idea is that you begin to pay attention to this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. And you're not only paying attention to this moment, but you're also paying attention to the thoughts that arise, the feelings that are arising, those intuitive guidances, that begin to take place, things that are happening in your awareness, moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment, moment to moment. In my workshops, I teach meditation, but I don't even call it meditation. I call it tuning in. I just tell people, let's tune in. It's almost like a computer where we're just saying, let's turn it on. Let's turn it on and plug it in. Let's turn ourselves on and let's plug in. And then once you're plugged in, let's see what happens from that space.
Yeah. I like that you're saying, don't even call it that, because some people get a little, like you said, a little bit scared of that, or a little bit like, I don't know how to meditate, and I don't know how to,
I remember I walked into like a video store, I love just chatting with people. And I remember I mentioned the word meditation to this young man who must have been like 25 years old. And then he looked at me, he rolled his eyes, and he just went, "Oh my God, don't get me started talking about meditation." And I just thought, oh my God, like people have this preconceived ideas of what meditation is. But the truth is, there are 7 billion people on the planet. I think there's 7 billion ways of meditating. Yeah. You have to find, ultimately, for you that you're listening to this, you have to find what works for you. Some people, they're just not wired to sit down still for more than 20 minutes, so don't even try it. Find a way of paying attention through some kind of a physical movement practice where you move. Some people are kinetic meditators. They have to do it while you move. So maybe practice martial arts or do something that allows you to move your body. Some people maybe music. Music becomes their meditation. For my landlady here where I stay in South Africa, it's her garden. In her garden is where she meditates. I mean, I see her sitting down in the grass, like pulling weeds for 6 hours. And I know this woman, she's like in pure bliss. So just find what works for you.
Yeah. That's a great tip. Thank you so much. I love that. I want to just quickly say thank you for kind of differentiating the different types of meditation there. And I love that you talked about the bringing it downward and really anchoring in all of that divine energy, that source energy, that universal energy into your body and into your heart and into your soul, because there is such an abundance out there of it ready for us. we just need
Yes.
to bring it in and into our being and use it. So thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. Oh, the time's gone by so fast, Gabrielle. I
know, it's amazing.
This has been an incredible interview, and you have so much, I have a whole page and a half of notes, and I am listening intently too, but I'm like, ooh, that's good. Ooh, that's good. So it's just been this wealth of information, so thank you so much. I do want to give you a minute to talk about the gifts that you're going to offer all of our listeners. So if you wouldn't mind just sharing about that, and then the links to the gifts will be right here on the interview page, so you don't need to go searching for it. It's easy to find. But just take a minute and tell us about your gifts.
Sure. Well, Lacey, I am 100% committed to spreading the good news that through your heart you can access not only the power that you need to follow the life that you came here to live, the projects that you came here to create, the relationships that you want to create, but you also get to access the wisdom that's going to guide you there. And so I've created this online learning center called the Academy for Applied Heart Intelligence. It really is a place where, it's a community of learners, of people that really want to learn how to access empowerment through their heart. I like to think of it as personal development with a heart in mind. I think a lot of our personal development systems and methodologies, the majority of them have left the heart out. You hear people talk about body, mind, spirit, and to a great degree, these emotions, have been completely ignored. So I created this online learning center where people can come in and register, and once you sign up, there's a free 2-week course where I guide you through some of the basic principles of what heart intelligence is, what the path of the heart is, and there's downloadable guided meditations, there's webinars. I run a monthly webinar. There's group coaching. And so what I like to do is I like to give anyone that's listening to this access to the Academy's free course, which you can register for by visiting appliedheartintelligence.com.
Wonderful. Oh, my word, that is such an incredible gift. I hope everyone goes and downloads the free 2-week course. And if for nothing else, the guided meditation. We've talked a lot about meditation today, and if that's something you've never done or you want to get doing, or you've done but you want to maybe take it to the next level and use that, a guided meditation, definitely go get Gabrielle's gift. The link, again, he gave you the website, but the link is also here on this interview page, so it should be fairly easy to find and go and access. So, Gabrielle, thank you so much. This has been an incredible interview, and you are just a wonderful wealth of information.
Thank you so much, Lacey. I really, really enjoyed being able to share my message with you and with your listeners.
Thank you. We appreciate and love your message. And everyone go get his gift and start applying those 3 M's into your life and whatever that looks like for you, and see if that helps you get more heart connected and heart centered. So, Gabrielle, thank you so much. And everyone enjoy your day, and we will talk soon. Bye-bye.